What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about altcoins today using the others chart. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. It is the 7th day of March. Here we are at about $170 billion in a total market cap in the top 125 coins, excluding the top 10. That's what the others chart is. And I know I say this every time, but for those people who don't know, it's not every altcoin. It's just the top 125, excluding the top 10. So this is the total composition of the market cap of 115 of some of the top cryptos in the space, right? We've been in what I think is clearly now a distributive phase. That's what this is. And we are at the base of this, right? There's a lot of people, and the reason I'm making this video is because I think there are a lot of people who got a little bit too excited on this pump. There's a lot of people who are too eager for the bear market to end. This would be the fourth bear market that I've experienced personally, and never ever has it ended. I mean, not that it can't. It's just I've never seen it where a bear market ends on eager excitement. That doesn't happen. It typically ends in despair and disbelief, right? It ends in despair and disbelief. What happens is whenever we have the end of our bear market and we're moving up and we get the higher high, people will say, yeah, but we're just going to sell off and go lower. We're going to see a lower low. Crypto's dead. Whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. You'll do fundamentally changing things in the chart's dynamics and it won't matter, right? This didn't change anything fundamentally, but people were very confidently saying that we were at the end of the bear market. I mean, down here it was like 50-50. People were unsure, but then it became like 80-20. All I'm trying to get at here is we're definitely not at the end of the bear market, you guys. Not for Bitcoin, not for altcoins. And this, to me, at this point, I mean, it's just very obvious that this is a clear distributive phase here. I don't think that we're going to see lower lows than this, but I certainly do believe that we're going to pull back. We might even find support at prior points of resistance here. And that's the main thing that I want to address is if we are in a bear market, how much more do we have to go? I think we have a little bit more to go. You know, one could argue that we've been in a giant crab market this whole time. I would say that the beginning of this bear market started back here. That's probably when it started, and that makes sense. September for Bitcoin, it was October. I mean, it makes sense. But what's really crazy, is we've never seen a bear market for altcoins that started before Bitcoin's bear market. Bitcoin always starts its bear market first. Altcoins start like a month after. This time it was the opposite. Altcoins started 1 month before. It's kind of interesting. And not only that, we didn't get new all-time highs on the grand scale of things. The best that we could hope for is that we're in some type of productive higher low consolidation phase where we will break out and climb higher. The worst would be, man, you know, we could see something terrible coming our way. I don't think that we're going to go below there personally. I think there's a lot of support. There's a lot of reason to find support in this area, right? Prior highs, prior lows, right? All that stuff. But even at the worst case scenario, I think it is possible that we go down there. So with that in mind, let's just get this over with. Measuring this, I mean, it's completely possible that even the top altcoins in the top 125 could drop another 55%. Now, I'm not meaning Bitcoin, although maybe it's possible. I'm not meaning Ethereum, although maybe it's possible, or XRP or Doge, again, although maybe it's all possible. I'm meaning the coins that are outside of the top 10. And likely outside the top 20 mainly, right? Even some of the coins in the top 20 might not drop this much, but 54, 55%, I believe that the predominant amount of altcoins will drop much, much more than this between now and even the end of this year. And some of them, most of them won't even come back, right? This is the worst case scenario. I don't think it'll be that bad, but that's just something to address. Let's get the bad news out first. Let's address the worst stuff first, and then we can talk about the somewhat good stuff, all right? Let's go back here to our bear market of 2018, 2019. Here, from a low point to a high point during the COVID crash, we did find support at the 886. That was the lowest point at which we found support. It was still a higher low overall. Now, some people might look at the COVID crash and say, okay, but that's not real price action. And okay, I'll bite. That's fair. Let's say it's not real price action. Let's say it was a black swan event, and that's a bad example to rally behind. You still, on a closing basis, not at your absolute worst wicks, but at a closing basis, you still closed around the golden ratio. So whether you want to say you found significance at the 886 or the golden ratio, I think both are true. And I think closing price matters more than wicking price, especially in a black swan event like that. So I'm going to take heed to this golden ratio. And on top of that, it's the golden ratio. Let's take heed to that, okay? Apply that to the current cycle. We take this low here, we put it at this high here, and our worst case scenario might be the 886, which would be around $86 billion. I don't know if I see that happening. I would expect 100 billion to hold, but again, we're going for the worst case scenario. That is, again, that's right around our 50% drop level. Let's imagine that instead there, we hold support at the 786, which we didn't do on the last bear cycle, but, or sorry, not even the bear cycle, just the COVID cycle. We didn't even measure the bear cycle. Hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me just see something real quick. I'm kind of curious. The only reason I'm comparing this is because we didn't yet see a higher high. Here we had already seen a higher high. Does that make sense? From a low to a high here, pulled back, found support at the 382, continued to move. But again, here we didn't see a higher high. Personally, I think we had our chance to find support at the 382 and we just didn't take it, so we're probably going to go lower. If we do find support at the 786, that's around $100 billion. That's a psychological level of significance. $100 billion would still be a 40% drop between now and likely the end of this year. This likely does happen sometime by the end of Q3, if not Q4 at the latest. By the way, just because we see the low happen whenever it happens, doesn't mean that we're ripping from there. We probably have some sorting out to do, just like we did here at the end of this bear market. Just like we did here at the end of this bear market. It wasn't off to the races immediately. It takes time. Bear markets typically end with a whimper. They bore you. They're not exciting. It's exciting for people who are looking to get in at low prices, but that's not, most people are not excited to buy at low prices. They're scared and they want to sell. Anyways, 786, we're climbing up the ladder. 50% at the worst, 40% somewhat likely, somewhat credible. 786, it's in this realm where we found support before. It's kind of like in the heart of that range, and the $100 billion psychological level. I mean, it makes sense. But the golden ratio to me is something that makes a whole lot of sense, right? And we really might see, I mean, in that kind of context, only a 17% to something around like a 30% drop for the average altcoin. And that might not seem like a big deal, and it might seem like we're even cutting this bear market short to a certain degree, but the thought here is that we didn't really get a bull market. We didn't really have, we don't really have much to sell off from. And that's just 20 to 30 or 15 to 30% from here. From the highs, overall, we would have sold off, 68 to 72%. That's a pretty healthy correction overall. Still light for any altcoin bear market overall, but we also had a very light bull market. This is the first time that we didn't see higher highs on the macro scale. So, I mean, any and all of these possibilities are welcome, are certainly possible. I don't believe that from here we're just going to move down. But also what I don't believe is that we're going to get a reaction like this, we're going to get a reaction like this, or we're going to get a reaction like this. I think here, this will be, being that it's our fourth time attempting to find support in this area, or here we found, reaction like that. I think we will get the weakest reaction. I think we will struggle getting above this high, but I still think that we will move up and we will see a little bit of support. So something between, maybe let's say a 15% to a 30% pump to the upside might be what we see before we actually drop, right? So for anybody who's holding altcoins, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, this next move up might be a good opportunity to get out before we actually go lower. I certainly wouldn't advocate for selling here. We're at the lowest prices that we've been in quite some time, but with that being said, I do believe we go lower overall. Weekly RSI is oversold. Let's just see, what should we do? How should we go about this? Should we take the lowest point? The only issue I have with this is if we take the lowest point, how do we know that this is the lowest point and that we don't go lower, right? I could take the point at which we go back above the overbought zone, but we haven't done that yet either. And I am anticipating that we do. What about this? I don't know how I want to do this. Got these lower lows connecting the dots there. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we found support here. I'm just not, again, I'm not counting on this being the low of the RSI. Maybe we come up and we still go lower. We haven't done that before. We haven't ever seen this chart go into the oversold zone, come out of it, and then see a lower low. We've never seen that, actually. Doesn't mean it can't happen here. Do we want to do that? I don't know. I don't know what to think of this here. Let's just do, since we don't have any other points of contact, let's just do the point at which we first got oversold. Okay. Which would have been here. You were very close to getting oversold here the week before, but you technically weren't oversold. You're right at it. So I'm going to get, it's technical analysis. Let's be technical. Not there, but there. Not here, but here, I would say. Yeah, right there. Okay, cool. Here, once we got oversold, we weren't actually at the end of our bear market, but we were very, very near. Very, very near the low of that bear market there. It took us about, and let's not even go from the lows, because again, this is such an extreme event. Let's go from like the point at which we broke above these highs here, where we broke out of this little consolidation phase. It took about a year and a half after on the weekly RSI you got oversold, a year and a half before you really started to be objectively productive. Okay. Got oversold here. Same kind of idea, breaking out of this trend. I would say here, look at that, 525 days, 553 days. We nailed it right on the head again. About a year and a half before we started to be productive. Now, again, what I'm not saying here is that over this whole time we were moving down, or that we were moving down. You know, here we were very near our lows. Here we definitely had lower to go over some months, you know, but more or less we were consolidating. More or less we were kind of consolidating, right? Here, I expect that we go lower, but probably not too much lower. Maybe something very similar to this, not too much lower. And we will more or less be consolidating for the next year and a half. We likely won't see altcoins turn productive. I mean, until some point in 2027, you guys. That doesn't mean that you need to sell your altcoins. I mean, do that if you want to. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. But if you're counting on altcoins to make you generational wealth, as the boys like to say in this space, as I like to say as well, it's probably not going to happen anytime soon, right? So just to curb your enthusiasm, just to get our ideas, our heads and hearts set in the right kind of time frame, it will likely be another year and a half, at the very least like a year, before we see any real excitement in the altcoins. And in that time, we likely do see lower prices and some volatility. And then maybe finally, then that's whenever we start to break out sometime in like mid 2027. I don't really have anything else that I want to talk about. It is depressing looking at the price. We do have some bullish divergence on the MACD. The stochastics have reset and they're coming back out of the oversold zone again. There are implications here that we do come up. I just believe we have lower to go. I believe we are in a bear market. So with that, I don't see us getting above these points here. I can see us approaching these points, but I don't see us getting above there. We likely find resistance at prior areas of support and resistance. And then we come down, forming a higher low overall. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. It's been a while since I made a video just talking about altcoins in broad in like using the others chart specifically. So I wanted to do that today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.